Bluegrass Digital is a digital production company. It's based in London with hubs, I'm told, in Cape Town and here in Johannesburg. Digital production is a relatively new term in the local and sometimes international context. And from Bluegrass, Nick Durrant, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You say that you bridge the gap between creative and technology. Explain that to me, but more importantly, how difficult is it to bridge that gap?
Well, historically, the digital space that we know today is essentially a kind of emergence of technology or software world into the creative world. Two very different worlds in terms of methodologies and how they work together. That's evolved or is still evolving, certainly in companies we work with, which tends to be a lot of creative agencies. So we're there to try and enforce a process in terms of digital project management and delivery and how it's done. So, certainly in the South African context, we're working with a lot of the larger ad agencies which don't really have that depth of knowledge and skill set to really deliver on a large campaign or a large project.
Who's the lead player in this equation? So often I've heard that creative has one idea and digital can't execute, or creative comes up with an idea and the digital side of the equation executes it in a completely different manner to the detriment of what the client wanted in the first place.
Well, I think that's where our kind of experience comes in. Certainly that is a challenge because in the ad world, creative world, it's very creative led by the creative director who has the big idea. But often we are brought in to sort of understand that idea and make it work in the context of digital. Often a digital agency is brought in too late to that process, and it's important that we work with them up front to evolve that idea.
That's interesting. Why are they brought in too late?
Well, I think there's a lot of process and the strategic side is undertaken without the input of a digital agency to understand what's possible, to understand the technology behind it, to really deliver the best solution for the client.
And is that the lead agency's fault, or simply the fact that clients are not confident enough about the role that digital is playing in terms of brand building?
I think it's the agency. They're responsible for delivering against the client's brief, essentially. So they've really got to sort of take the right approach, so to speak. And I think it comes down to very much an experience thing, and I'll probably bang on about experience because it counts for a lot, that agencies are still evolving their structures to handle the integrated world that we operate in today.
Yet you also make the point that as the digital star starts to rise, clients themselves are becoming more confident that the role digital can play. Are you also suggesting here that perhaps clients are ahead of the curve as opposed to the agencies?
I think it depends which client you're dealing with, because some are becoming
fairly...
We can generalize, but I think some are becoming pretty savvy now in terms of the younger marketeers coming through the system and really knowing what they want, and you can see that sometimes in how they write their briefs and how they almost issue the instructions, that they've already done their homework, so to speak. So I think there's a great phrase that someone told me, there's more sizzle than steak, so to speak, in the digital world, certainly in South Africa, but we have been going through a revolution. So some clients have jumped into it and gone sort of a fair amount down the track, and probably now kind of stepping back to reevaluate what they've done, what hasn't worked, and sort of reset their goals.
All right, two quick questions in conclusion. First of all, you raised the point about local agencies remaining competitive when supply is outweighing demands. In other words, there are lots of you around and not enough work. How do you remain competitive?
Well, I think competitiveness, certainly in South African landscape, is a challenge. We generally want to work with the big brands and the big clients, and there are a lot of lead, experienced agencies around, and there's also a lot of cowboys. So I think experience counts for a lot. We've had many years of working overseas and still continue to work internationally, and bringing that back and helping brands or agencies deliver a good digital solution for their clients counts for a lot.
So experience is important, but you also ask this question: what's the top aspect that clients should consider when selecting a digital production agency? Experience is one thing, but ultimately doesn't it all come down to price? Given so often in this game is that there are huge cost attached, big promise and under delivery.
Well, there has been a lot of that. I mean, it reminds me of the dot-com era in the UK, essentially, where there has been a lot of big bills being issued, and has that really given you a return on your investment,
well,
so
the
to
answer
speak?
Is no.
No, the answer is no, in probably 90% of the cases. But I think there has to be understanding that there is a setup cost to get your digital kind of estate set up, and hopefully the investment that possibly has been made too early will come through later on as the digital space evolves more and more.
So what is that top aspect then? You've still got to look for the experience.
Well, experience counts for a lot, because skills. There are a lot of people coming through university with the skills now, but experience in terms of delivering on time, delivering the experience, delivering on the campaign. Everyone knows, even in the traditional sense, doing the hard yards, the late nights, the years of having made mistakes, you are far more fitter to deliver for big clients and big brands than maybe a younger, smaller agency.
All right, some very useful insights there, Nick Durrant, for brands wanting to get into the space from Bluegrass Digital. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jeremy.